Hey guys, I had to plug this in. So, I wanted to show you something I found related to Guantanamo. And a secret compound known as Strawberry Fields posted something about this. Strawberry Fields forever, right? The detainees would be held there forever, right? They also have other names, Penny Lane, classified as high value. So I really believe that they're sold by the City of London, and then, our government extrajudicially renditions them here so that they're kept as slaves. And LLC, Cinderella LLC, and Dying to be Green, which my mother was one of my mother's LLCs, shows that they know that it's torture. The CIA thought the men could be securely and secretly at Guantanamo without any prospect of the public learning that they had been subject to what the United States courts have determined torture, including waterboarding. Waterboarding is also a term where they use water to steal bones out of your face. And then, if you look up the water boards, Wards and Boards is a book written by Brad Spellberg. One of euphemistically termed enhanced interrogation techniques. Also, sexual exploitation to the detainees. Also, what happened to me, you guys know all about that. So, at the time, CIA thought the men could be held, blah, blah, blah. These techniques have been specifically authorized by political appointees in the Office of Legal Counsel. So that is in the United States Justice Department, and I've been contacted routinely by members of the Justice Department who pose as homeless people or pose as, something other than what they are. And they have something called the torture memos. Let's look at it. Let me see if I can get it up. Okay. Memorandum for William Haynes, Department of Defense, from John Woo. And Robert Delahunty, Special Counsel, application of treaties and laws to Al-Qaeda and Taliban detainees. Now, I don't know if Taliban means something other than what they're claiming, but I'm telling you, they're doing this as a money grab. Taliban meaning in Hebrew. Let's see what it means. What is Taliban? A fundamentalist Muslim movement, which in 1996 set up an Islamic State in Afghanistan. The Taliban were overthrown by U.S.-led forces. The name comes from Pashto or Dari from Persian, literally students and seekers of knowledge. There's a singular of Taliban. German singular is Talib, meaning of Afghanistan. Afghan derives from Sanskrit, which in turn derives from the ancient Sumerian word for Badakashan, Abargon, or high country. Scholars such as Yu Gankovsky have attempted to link Afghan to the Uzbek word Afghan to mean original. So they're stealing originals and then making reproductions out of them under copyright law and a bunch of other laws. What was Persian suffix for place? Afghan political adopted Afghanistan. Let's see. The first historical documents date to the early part of the Iranian Achaemenian dynasty, which controlled the region. Militia. Okay, so Taliban, a Sunni Islamic student movement in Afghanistan organized by the radical mullah Muhammad Omar. The way we decided whether you were Taliban or not is whether you were firing at us. You can see what this says, because you know, even when you look at Guantanamo, it's still under. Let me see. Oh, here's the one I wanted to show you. Okay, Memorandum for Director, DCI, Counterterrorist Center, Chief of Operations, Chief. Request to relocate high-value detainees to an interim detention facility at Guantanamo. See also Director, CIA detainees were held at 2 facilities at Guantanamo, Detention Site Maroon and Detention Site Indigo. See Quarterly Review of Confinement Conditions for CIA detainees. A third site called Detention Site Red something. There's some numbers here. And then I found another one that said it was called Penny Lane. You've asked our office's views concerning the effect of international treaties and federal laws on the treatment of individuals detained by U.S. armed forces during the conflict in Afghanistan. In particular, you've asked whether the laws of armed conflict apply to the conditions of detention and the procedures for trial of members of Al-Qaeda and Taliban militia. Now, I have to look up what Al-Qaeda means. We conclude that these treaties do not protect members of the Al-Qaeda organization, which as a non-state actor cannot be a party to the international agreements governing war. So they created something where they could use the people for kind of whatever they want. I believe they're detaining people because of bloodline. And that's what makes them high value. And they're sold from the City of London, Citibank, you know, which is basically the capital of the financial system of the world, right? And then brought here under extrajudicial rendition, even though they're not enemy combatants, but they are classified as prisoners so that the government can use them in experiments and make money on it. So a lot of the documents I saw, there'll be like clinical trials and it'll be under other names, but they're using like hundreds of names to identify the people. It's just kind of hard to figure out. The WCA directly incorporates several provisions of international treaties governing the laws of war into the Federal Criminal Code. Part 1 describes the WCA and most relevant treaties that it incorporates the 4 1949 Geneva Conventions, which regulate the treatment of non-combatants such as prisoners of war, the injured and sick, and civilians. Part 2 examines whether Al-Qaeda detainees can claim the protections of these agreements. So they claim that you're Al-Qaeda or, you know, I mean, I'm obviously not associated with the Taliban unless my parents are Taliban, but how could they be Taliban and also U.S. Navy? I'm not sure. Al-Qaeda operates as a network of Islamic extremists and Salafist jihadists. But what else does it mean? radical Sunni Muslim organization dedicated to the elimination of a Western presence in Arab countries. So, Al-Qaeda, the original name had to do with something else. Let's see. It said base or foundation. Okay, the Arabic word Al-Qaeda, base or foundation, is also used for groundwork and basis. Basis for what? I don't know. Peacekeeping treaties by, I'm not sure, but it is outrageous what they're doing to people. Qaeda itself means to sit down, remain, stay, abide, so in detainment, right? Many people appear to think Al-Qaeda's name emerged from some idea of a physical base, right? Remember I said it's a jurisdictional base, a command center from where bin Laden and other leaders would direct operations. I showed to you guys the Al-Qaeda Rolodex I have, the bin Laden Rolodex. Bin Laden is not a name. They just keep showing it as a name. It's a corporation. Sorry, my thing went off. There's so much fake stuff in here, I don't even want to read it. Okay, let's see what else it means. Al-Qaeda, ISIS meaning Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, also known as ISIL. ISIS is also a goddess. Fulfill a variety of roles, primarily as wife and mother, mourner, and magical healer. She was a role model for women, a principal deity in rites for the dead. And cured the sick. Okay, so they're picking people by bloodline who have certain blood that creates antibodies to almost anything, right? And that is why they're choosing certain people, I guess, to keep them as prisoners of war. But, I mean, I don't think it's fair. She's also goddess of the moon, fertility, healing, and magic. But let's see if it means something else. What is ISIS? Islamic State again. ISIS K. And the Rand Corporation always gets into the mix to make money, which I've reported on a lot. And they always say it's men detainees, but it's actually women. I believe it's women and children. That's just my opinion. Because they don't have another way to get these for use in clinical studies. Because nobody would agree to what happened to me. Nobody in their right mind. But nobody else. I also find it weird with this new abortion law in Texas. Who's fighting about it? We have a satanic group fighting about it. We have the LGBTQ community fighting about it. We have the groups that are fighting about it is very, very telling because they've been giving these women the death penalty anyway, and then using that for the community, and that's just how it's been. But now it's just coming out into the open, so that they'll know the repercussions, right? That's it.